guys, welcome back to my channel. Oh man, today's video is going to be so much fun. I have a pile of makeup here in front of me of my oldest makeup or my most repurchased makeup in my collection. So I went through every category of makeup and picked either the thing that I've had for the longest time or the thing that I have repurchased the most over the years. These are basically things that have made it through a whole lot of declutters, and we're gonna put it all on my face today. Some of these were super nostalgic and so much fun. I have a good mix of high-end and drugstore here. And I think the finished result, I love this makeup look, tells me why I don't declutter this stuff, because it all works so well for me. I hope you guys are excited about it. This one's gonna be so much fun. Before we get into the makeup, I wanna wish a special welcome to any of you that are new visitors here. I hope you enjoy this video today, and I hope that you'll consider subscribing before you leave. Also, make sure notifications are turned on. And with that said, I am dying to put this makeup on. Well, I already have, but you know what I mean. Let's get to it. Let's get started with a primer. So I haven't actually been a fan of primers for a really long time. It's more recently that I've learned to really love them. But I do have one older primer that made it through my most recent declutter, and it is the Touch in Sol No Problem Priming Essence. I ended up decluttering the original Touch in Sol No Problem. This one is a little bit harder to find. I've had this one for a couple of years. Most sane people would probably have decluttered it by now, but it still is just fine. Unless something smells bad or it's been like many, many years, I usually will hold on to it for longer than it says to on the package. I love this stuff though. It's really, really nice for just softening up your skin. It just gives like a subtle layer of hydration, but it doesn't feel greasy in any way. It feels more like a water. Let's add some foundation. So the oldest foundation in my collection that I have repurchased many, many times. Again, this one specifically isn't old, but I've repurchased I think 3 or 4 times over the years. It was my first high-end foundation and I still love it. It is the IT Cosmetics CC Cream Illumination. I have the shade Light. I love this stuff. I think it's so good. It has really great coverage. It's easy to apply. The shade match is pretty good for me. It also has a really soft, pleasant scent to it that I really love. I really love BB and CC creams because they apply so well with my hands. And there's just something that's really quick about applying your foundation with your hands or your fingers. Everything blends in so quick but so well. As long as you don't mind getting your hands a little bit dirty, I always keep a clean towel on my lap as I do my makeup. So I usually just wipe them off on that and then wash them when I'm done. But I just love how well this specific one applies with my hands. All right, there it is. That literally took like 15-20 seconds and it looks so good. Let's add some concealer. My oldest concealer that has made it through many declutters and will make it through as many as declutters as it lasts is the Revlon Candid Concealer. You guys know this is a longtime favorite for me. It is becoming increasingly more difficult to find these days. Recently, I found it at a couple different places online. I think I found it on Target's website and also on the Revlon website. I will link it down below for you guys. If you can still find it, and if you have not yet tried this, it is still my favorite concealer. So that was shade number 5. I'm gonna add a little bit of shade number 30. This one's a little bit better for the perimeter of my face. Kind of using a lot today. I'm having a lot of discoloration issues recently. I don't know what is going on with my skin. I feel like it's making me a little nervous, especially moving into spring and summer as I get ready to spend some more time out in the sun. I am investigating some new skincare products to try out. I still feel like I've been doing a good job of using my sunscreen every day. I need to be better at reapplying it when I do start going outside a little bit more. That was my mistake when I was out in the sun last weekend, is I applied it in the morning, but I didn't really reapply it. Just can't do that anymore. Could also just live with it and stop complaining. All right, skin looks much better. Let's add a little bit of powder. I'm gonna take my Rimmel Stay Matte. This is my oldest powder by far, not this specific one. I have repurchased this one like 4 times, I think. You do go through it pretty quickly, which kind of surprises me because it's so lightweight and thin. You don't need very much, but I just don't think there's a ton of powder in there. I don't know, which is fine. It's super cheap. Add a little bit to my eyelids. Not gonna use an eye primer today. I don't own the Wet n Wild primer anymore. That would be the oldest primer in my collection, but I did finally declutter that one. All right, let's jump over to bronzer. So the oldest bronzer in my collection that has made it through so many declutters that I will never get rid of until it completely runs out, and even then I'll probably repurchase it, is the Butter Bronzer from Physicians Formula. I still have the old packaging. Mine is pretty old. It's like 4 or 5 years old, I think. I finally did hit pan in it though. I still have a ways to go with this thing though if I really want to use it all up. I have the light bronzer shade here, so I can apply it a little bit more generously. So I'm gonna really try and like dig in there and see if I can get a little bit more pan to show. Using my Rephr number 22 brush, I'm just going to pop that on my cheeks. Mine's pretty much lost its tropical scent. It's subtly there, but it's not as strong as it used to be. I like the strong scent. Although I have found that if I use this bronzer like 4 or 5 days in a row, I will get minor breakouts from this one just along my jawline right here. They're not terrible, not enough to completely scare me away from this thing, but I just have to be careful not to use it too regularly. But I know for a fact this is a holy grail bronzer for many of you guys as well. All right, let's go to blush. This is the oldest blush that I own that I just cannot declutter because it's the first high-end blush that I ever bought, and it's this one from MAC. It's called Margin. This was a recommendation from my sister, who is a hair and makeup artist. This was a longtime favorite of hers. I don't think they even make this shade anymore. It's such a pretty shade. It's like a shimmery, peachy bronze kind of shade. It's really, really subtle and light, but it's really beautiful on the cheeks. We're gonna use it today. Actually, haven't used this one for a really long time, so this will be really fun. So I'm gonna take it with my rougher number 5 brush, build it up in there pretty good because this shade is pretty light, and then just start applying it right at the apples. You'll see this is one of those shades that's kind of like bronzy. It's almost like a hybrid bronzer blush highlighter. It does have some sheen in it as well. Probably wouldn't even need a highlighter today, but of course we're gonna use one because you can't have too much highlighter. Actually you can, but I don't mind that much. There we go, so beautiful. I need to pull that one out more often. Let's move on to highlighter. So this highlighter brings back many memories for me. It's from Wet n Wild. It's the Wet n Wild Precious Petals highlighter. I have repurchased this highlighter 2 or 3 times. It's hard to go through an entire highlighter. I think this is the only highlighter I have ever had to repurchase. I still love it. It can be a little bit dark on me. If I'm at my very, very fairest, let me see if I can find a place to swatch right here. I actually have some old swatches from another video that I will have coming up for you guys very soon, but they're like permanent. These are liquid shadows. So there's a swatch of it right there. Oh, I don't know if you're gonna be able to see it. Let me turn my light down. So there it is, just a pretty peachy golden shimmer. I love this highlighter. I definitely don't use it as much as I used to, but it is still one of my favorites from the drugstore. Let's take it with this Sydney Grace brush right here and just add a bit of that mostly to this outer part of my cheekbones. I feel like the inner part of my cheeks are already pretty shimmery from that blush. So I really just want this to be like a spotlight right there. Oh my gosh, I forgot how intense that is. Ooh, that's a little much. I like to put some on my lips before I go in with my lip products. I feel like it adds a little bit of like shine to my lip glosses later when I put them on. I know that it looks a little weird initially, but I've been really into doing that lately. All right, let's add some brow products next. So this one, I have my e.l.f. brow pencil right here. This is the first brow pencil I ever used back in the day when I never even used to do my brows. Did you guys know that when I started my YouTube channel, I didn't do my brows? Like I wouldn't even brush them through. And this was back in the day when pretty much no one was watching, but I remember after editing a few videos, I recognized that I needed to do something with my brows, and this is the first brow pencil that I ever tried, and now I cannot do without doing my brows. I have come a long way. I'll be honest, I don't use this brow pencil a ton anymore because I do prefer a slim brow pencil if I'm using a pencil, but I still have a ton of these. I will never declutter it. If I'm ever recommending a pencil for someone on a budget or for someone just starting out, this is the one that I always recommend. But it is still a good one. There was a sign in the store for a while. I haven't seen it. This was like a year or two ago that said this was the world's #1 selling brow pencil or something like that. And I was like, wow, that's a big claim. Where did they get that data? Can you make a claim like that without data to back it up? You probably can. I mean, if we were told that pro vitamins were a thing, you probably can make that claim. Do you guys remember those commercials, like the Pantene commercials where they would have a capsule open up on like a microscopic animated strand of hair and all the cuticles would just magically seal back together? And we all thought that was science. I mean, I did growing up. I was like, wow, that really works. I mean, look at the animation and look at the model's shiny hair. Obviously, it works. That's science for you. So I didn't really use a brow gel back then. I do want to add a little bit of this though, my Shape and Stay brow wax, another one of the most repurchased products in my collection. I usually put this in before I do my brows, but that's okay. This is not necessarily going to hold my brows in place all day, but it will help a little bit. So I'm just going to brush some of that through. And there we have it. Not a bad looking brow for, what is it, $4 or $5, these 2 products. Now the fun part, let's jump into eyeshadow. I would like you guys to guess, what do you think the oldest eyeshadow palette in my collection is? You might know this if you've seen some of my declutters. Pause the video right now, take a guess down below. It is the Urban Decay Naked palette. How many of you guys still have this original palette lying around? Mine actually looks almost brand new because I rarely use this thing. Even when I first got it, it was my first high-end palette. I was kind of intimidated by this thing, or I didn't want it to run out. Clearly that was not a problem for me. So let's see what we can do with this old thing today. We're gonna start off in this shade right here, which is the shade Buck. I've seen so many naked palettes where people have this shade completely gone. I'm pretty sure I bought this palette like back in 2013, so I probably had it for 10 years now. Actually, I think I got this palette as a gift for my sister. I think I bought one for her for Christmas, and she ended up buying one for me for my birthday. Probably when I gave it to her, she realized that I really, really wanted this palette myself. Maybe she ended up gifting me the same one that I gave her. I never thought to ask that. Erica, did you re-gift? I'm just taking a little bit of that same shade mixed with a tiny bit of this one right here, which is Naked, and we're running that under the lower lash line, about halfway across. These are so good. The shade's not super dark, but I want to do almost a sharper shape right here than I typically do. All right, now I'm gonna try and warm up the look a little bit. I'm gonna start by taking this shade right here, the shade Smog. This is a shimmer, but I wanna take it on this blending brush and tap a little bit of that on the outer half of the lid. Before we lighten up the lid, we're gonna take a little bit of this shade right here, Hustle, which is kind of like a purpley brown. Has kind of a satin finish. We're gonna take that on this smudge brush we used on the lower lash line. And I'm going to smudge that right along the top lash line and then pull the tiniest bit down below. Now we're gonna take a little bit of Half Baked, this kind of golden champagne right here. Another popular shade in this palette, and we're gonna run that all over the inner half of the lid. Such a pretty shade. Man, this palette is so good. I would imagine for those of you that do still have this palette laying around, you probably don't use it either, because once this runs out, you'll never be able to repurchase it. So it's probably like a collector's item for you as well. All right, that looks amazing. Let's take this little brush, also from Persona. This is the Define and Smudge brush. We're gonna take the Define end, this really small side right here. We're gonna go over to Sin, which is a very light shell, like icy shell pink. We're gonna take a little tiny bit of that just right on the inner corner right here. Actually, let's mix Sin and Virgo, these two shades right here. And there's the finished eye look. Wow, you guys, that palette is so good. It's a shame I didn't use that enough back when it was newer. Let's move on to the eyeliner. This one's probably no surprise to you. My oldest eyeliner is the Wet n Wild Simma Brown now. I've repurchased this for sure more than any other item in my entire collection. I have like 10 of these on hand at one time. Here's a brand new one we're gonna open up today. I especially love them when they're brand new and freshly sharpened. So we're gonna jump in with a little bit of this just on the outer part of the lid. I'm just gonna do a little bit of a wing. They are a little sharp when they're brand new though, so be warned. Tiny bit on the waterline. Okay, when I do that with my eyes closed, it actually puts a little bit on the waterline, both on the top and the bottom. I just like to keep it on the outer part of the lid. Isn't that pretty though? Very different look for me. I don't do that all the time, but if I'm wanting to go really smoky, I really love that little trick. Okay, let's add some mascara. I'm gonna take my Cosmetics Superhero Mascara. Definitely my most repurchased high-end mascara. There's not a lot of high-end mascaras that I will repurchase over and over again. This is one of the few. This one is just about expired. I have one on backup right now, but the one downside with this mascara is there seems to be so much product inside here that I can never make it all the way through the actual mascara, like the product itself, before the mascara expires, which always makes it a little harder for me to toss them when they're expired. After like 9 months is usually my limit, but I just hate to throw them away when they still feel so full. Love this mascara though. Very, very black and thick and lengthening and volumizing. This is like everything dramatic in a mascara all rolled into one. And there we are. Wow. the eyes look amazing. Let's move on to the lips. Last thing. So I have two things for the lips today. My oldest lip liner in my collection is the Milani Color Statement Lip Liner. This one specifically, 03 Nude, is the first shade I tried from them. I've repurchased these lip liners several times. I have these two currently in my little holder on my desk, and I think I have 2 or 3 of each of these shades on backup. I do really love this lip liner. It's a good basic one from the drugstore, super affordable. It's not my favorite from the drugstore as of late because it's not as long wearing as some of my other favorites, but I do still recommend it and really enjoy it. So we're just gonna overline a little bit with this one. Really good basic shade. It's a little bit on the pink side, but it's not overly pink, so you can wear this with pinkier nudes or more peach tone nudes. It really goes with anything. All right, and just taking a clean finger, lightly press that in, kind of smudge it out. And then for the lipstick that I have that's the oldest, kind of most sentimental lipstick to me is this one right here from MAC. This is MAC's Jubilee. So I picked up a handful of these MAC lipsticks back. It was either at the beginning of my YouTube channel about 5 years ago or shortly before that. I went through and found a bunch of YouTube videos from some of my favorite YouTubers at the time looking for their MAC lipstick recommendations. And this was a recommendation from, I think it was Fleur de la Cour, no. Fleur de Force. Any of you guys remember Fleur? I don't even know if she still has a YouTube channel. I do see her on Instagram sometimes. So this is the shade Jubilee. Very pretty peachy shade that's very glossy. This is one of their luster finishes, so it isn't quite as pigmented or as rich. It's a little bit more of a glossy, kind of shiny finish. Let me just swatch it on the back of my hand for you guys. There it is right there. A little bit peachy. It's super, super pretty. This is another one I need to pull out and use a little bit more. All right, you guys, and here is the finished look. A full face of my oldest, longest standing favorite makeup products. What do you guys think of the finished look? What do you think of some of these products? Do you still own any of these? I would love to know down in the comments below. Also, I would love to know what is the oldest makeup product that you cannot let go of. I hope you guys enjoyed this video today. I love how the look turned out. It makes me wonder why I ever buy new makeup because clearly old stuff works just as well. Thank you guys so much for watching today. Hope you guys are all doing well. Let me give you one final reminder. If you have not yet subscribed, make sure to do that before you leave, and I will see all of you in my next video. Bye.